guys, and welcome back. I have a brand new palette I want to tell you guys about. This is the BH Cosmetics collaboration with Daisy Marquez. This palette is so beautiful. There is so many shades in here that I knew I wanted to do something different with this review. I wanted to test out as many shades as I could, so I decided I wanted to create two looks with this palette. One that is more bold and colorful, which is the one I have on right now, and another look that is a little bit more of a natural look. Something that's a little bit more wearable for everybody. It's a little bit of a smokier natural look. I ended up going full force with it, but kind of more on the natural side. You could tone it down taking a few steps, but I wanted to show you guys two variations with this palette since there is a lot of color and a lot of more neutral tones, and just show you guys more what you could create. I thought it would be a fun switch up from the first impressions, so that way I show you guys two looks and tell you my final thoughts about this palette after having used it a few times instead of just the once. So let's just go ahead and get into the initial two looks first, and then I will talk about the overall thoughts of the palette at the end. So let's jump into look number one. For both eye looks, I'm gonna use the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion in Eden. I figure I would just tell you guys once instead of showing you twice. So for the next eye look, just know that this is the primer I'll already have on. Then for the first shade, I'm gonna take Dulce on my Sigma E40 brush, and I'm just gonna work this back and forth in the crease using the windshield wiper method. And I'm dipping back in a second time because I just really want to make sure that this color is deepened up in here. I want it to be really bold and vibrant, so I just go in with that second layer just to make sure the intensity is all the way there. And since I already have full face and concealer on, I'm going to take that shade one more time on my Sigma E55, and I'm going to run it all the way along on the lower lash line, all the way across from the outer edge here, all the way up until the inner corner. Then back in to the palette, we're going to take the shade Vintage. And I'm just going to start placing this in the outer V using my Sephora crease brush. And I'm gonna also take it in a little bit into the crease, but I'm being very careful to not bring it up too high. I want to keep this color pretty low so that way we don't disrupt the shade Dulce. And then I'm taking Vintage on my Moda Medium Eye Shader, and I'm gonna take it on the lower lash line about 2/3 of the way into the eye, just stopping right about here. I'm just blending that out. Taking the shade over here called Cocoa, using this on my Morphe Y19 brush, and I'm just gonna start using this out here in the outer V, and I'm just kind of tapping it in at first so that way I place the shadow exactly where I want it. And then I will take the tip of the brush once everything's placed down, no extra product, and just kind of start blending it slightly into the crease. I don't want to drag it in too far, so I'm going very gentle with a little back and forth motions. And then I'll start blending around the edges with little mini circular motions. And to help blend things out, you can always dip into the brush you just used with a little bit more of that Dulce shade. And just kind of blend along the edges here. It'll just help ease the blend, and that way you won't be dragging that brown shade everywhere, because I want the brown to be very soft. And then using my Makeup Geek pencil brush, I'm going in with Cocoa about like 1/3 of the way out, maybe almost a half here, on the lower lash line just to deepen things up a little bit out here. I never take it in too far so that way I don't close my eye up, but it just helps add to the look, going on the lower lash line with it. I'm just going very gentle with that pencil brush. And then the last step for working the colors out in the crease, at least, is going to be taking the shade down here called Matter. I'm using that on my Sigma E45 brush, and then I'm just being really gentle. This is a very tapered brush. Hopefully you guys can see that. It has a very defined low point. So I'm just kind of going gently out here in the outer V just to deepen things up a little bit more, adding to that kind of cocoa shade, kind of creating a little bit of a V shape. that blends out. And then taking matter again, but this time on my Sigma E30 brush, I'm just taking a little bit underneath on the lower lash line, keeping this strictly in the 1/3 area. The brown shade, I was a little bit more relaxed and I brought it in a little bit towards the halfway. This one I'm keeping very close out here. And then I'm not even gonna cut the crease. I'm not gonna do any of that. I'm gonna take this shade Stunt, give it a little spritz, make it a little bit more metallic-y. And using that on my Makeup Geek foiled eyeshadow brush, I'm applying that all over the lid. And I mean, just look at that shade. It is beautiful. That is what I love, when you can use a good shimmery shade all over the lid without having to cut the crease and it still shows up like you did. Oh, oof, that is what I love. That's just going in with the one layer. I'm gonna dip back in one more time and just add a little bit more out here, being a little bit careful, just to ease into it, and that way it kind of fades outwards. Then dipping in with another pencil brush into the shade Icy, giving that also a little swoosh. I'm gonna pop that in the inner corner. Icy, icy, my haters wanna fight me. Sorry. Ooh, so pretty. Oh, I love it. And then a little bit more and just popping that right on the brow bone. Looking super icy with this. I love it. And then that is actually gonna be it for shadow. I'm now gonna add a wing. I'm gonna use the NYX Epic Ink liner. And I'm just gonna use this to create a wing. It helps add to the smoky illusion and just helps to deepen things up a little bit. Then to pop on some mascara, I'm gonna be using the NYX Worthy Hype and just coating up both the top and the bottom lashes, building it up a few times. I'm just going in with some falsies, help add to the effect. These are a little bit more on the natural side. I'm not going in with anything too dramatic and out there. I feel like the look does it on its own. So of course, you guys know I'm using the Kiss Blowout Lashes in the style Pixie. And then here we have it, the first look. So now let's go ahead and move on to look number 2. Look number 2, the bold look. All right, let's dip back into the palette. This time we're gonna do things in a little bit of a different order. I'm gonna begin with this shade right up top called Karma, this beautiful red. I am coating up my Morphe Y19 brush. And so I'm gonna start working this shade into the outer V right over here and bringing it into the crease. I'm not trying to bring it up too high though. I want to just really place it right in that crease pretty low because we're gonna blend out another shadow on top of it. Since this red is really bold and really pigmented, I find that it's easier to work the red in first and then go in with that top crease shade, because otherwise the shade can get a little bit lost. So in order to really pump up that shade, which is gonna be a yellow we place on top, I like to add the red first. And really, I'm just trying to get a shape with using this red. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of a swoop out here. So I'm just gonna extend it because this is gonna be the ultimate guide for how the look is gonna go. Ooh, that's pretty red. Taking Karma one more time, but this time on the Luxie 141 mini round brush. I'm gonna work it really close to the lower lash line all the way across. Not hitting the inner corner though, just stopping right about here. Don't want to drag it all the way in there because we're gonna have a really bold inner corner moment. So just bring it in about right there and connecting it to this outer V. I kind of like that one eye is done so that way you guys can see the end result and that I'm not crazy. And now I'm gonna dip into this yellow shade called Flower on my Luxie 121 mini tapered. I'm just gonna start running this through the crease. Just start blending over that red shade, making sure that yellow comes into play and starts really standing out. And I am making sure I really extend that yellow shade out into this kind of inner, well not out, into the inner corner area right about in here. So we get a nice little pop of color. And what I like about doing the yellow on top of the red is that you get that really beautiful transition from the yellow, and then mixed in with the yellow and the red, you get a little bit of an orangey tone, and then it's the red. So you get a really cool gradient effect putting this on top. And then I just take a little bit more of the shade Flower on my Real Techniques shading brush, and I'm kind of stamping this yellow shade right along here, bringing a little bit more fluffed out than that red shade. We want the yellow to be the farthest away from the lower lash line. And I'm bringing it into right about here. I'm not bringing it all the way out to that outer V. I just want to keep it right about here. And I'm going to be taking the shade Passion Fruit, using my Sephora crease brush to work this into also the outer V and slightly into the crease. I am going to be very gentle with placing this though, because I want to see those layers. I want to see that yellow, I want to see that orangey mix, and I want to see the red and then the passion fruit. It's a lot going on, but just take it in steps and also take your time with it. Don't try to rush it. Then I'm switching to another brush, dipping back into passion fruit one more time. This is the Sigma E36. It's a really teeny tiny blending brush, and I'm just going to use this brush to help bring it along in this crease, because the other one is so fluffy that it takes the product a little bit everywhere, so this one is going to help give you a lot more precision. And just ever so gently building it up a little bit, like fluffing it a little bit higher with what's left over on the brush, because when we go in with that shimmery shade, you have to keep in mind where you usually place it. So I place mine a little bit higher to go over the folds of my lid when I look up. So I gotta make sure I look up and then kind of see where it sits, so that color won't disappear after I put on a shimmery shade. And then taking a little bit more product, and I'm gonna start working that on the lower lash line, bringing it from the outer corner, working it in about halfway here too. Blending and building that up. It's a little bit of a smoked out corner here, as you guys can see. So I'm just kind of bringing it out too, just blending it out. Let's take Bittersweet. Making sure I really tap that one off. And I'm taking it on my Makeup Geek Soft Dome brush, and I'm gonna start just packing that color on right out here in the outer corner, or I mean the outer V, just to start to deepen things up. In the outer corner, I'm gonna build up kind of gradually. So I'm gonna place this down a little bit, dip back into it, and just press in that color a little bit more. And if I want to blend that out, going back into the brush I just used and going along the edges and kind of merging it with that shade I just used. Bittersweet, I'm going to take on my Sigma E30, and I'm going to start working that on the lower lash line. Bring it in like 1/3 of the way onto the lower lash line, connecting it out. The shade I'm just being very gentle with, because I just want that depth, but I don't want it to go too crazy. You know what I mean? Yes. Now there is one more step that I'm putting out in the outer V, but I'm gonna do that after I apply the shimmery shades. So, dipping back into the palette, I'm gonna be taking the shade Dream, and believe it or not, I actually did that look without cutting the crease. I just wanted to see if I could do it, since in the first look I was able to do it. It works. I think the next time that I do it, I will cut the crease though, because I do feel like there is a little bit more of a amplification of the colors. You get a little bit more of a better base. But I do enjoy seeing if you are able to make it work with just the shimmery shade itself. Whoops, almost forgot. So with the shimmery shades, you get a little bit more fallout. So I'm just gonna take my sponge with a little bit of powder and kind of place that underneath here. It looks a little crazy, but it's just gonna act as a safety net, because that one, there is quite a bit of shimmer that falls down, and I just don't want it to smear underneath, depending on how much there is. So just a little precaution there. And so this shade I am just gonna be adding kind of in the center here, because I'm gonna be working another shade in. Oh yeah, and I'm using the MAC 248 brush because this has a nice little flat edge, so I'm able to kind of create a little crease cut here. Since I didn't do a cut crease on my own, it helps to place down the shade a little bit better. Which if you use the setting spray, you get this really beautiful foiled look, which whew, is gorgeous. Color switch! Using the same brush, I'm now gonna use the Money Slime. It has a little dollar sign, you know, of course the dollar sign kind of looks like an S, and then it says lime, so I'm guessing it's supposed to be called slime, but I call it the Money Lime. Same brush, give it a little spritz, and now we're gonna work the shade right in the inner corner and working its way into that blue. Sorry, I get excited when I put on shimmery shades, so I start to sing a little bit. And this shade is gorgeous. I mean, look at that. Ooh, the look is coming together. I knew when I first opened up this palette, I wanted to use that beautiful lime green shade. Just too beautiful not to. And I'm taking the edge of the brush and just working it into the inner corner also and bringing it on the lower lash line just a little bit right about here. Just using it like an inner corner highlight. So pretty. So pretty. And then if you get a little bit of shimmer up in towards that crease, what I like to do is find the brush I was using. Take the E36, no extra product, and I'll just run it along the edge of this crease. And that'll help take away some of that shimmer that just got kind of fluffed up and just shape it out again. I'm gonna take the shade Matter on my Sigma E45 brush, and I am gonna be just placing this kind of right along the top lash line here. I'm not gonna really work it into the outer crease. I'm just gonna be placing the shade almost like a liner in a way. Like a wing liner, just right out here in the outer corner. I'm not gonna drag it in. And that's why I waited till after I put down the shimmery shades to do so, because I was just gonna run it along the edge of the blue here. And then if you want to blend out the edges of that blue just right above, same brush that I used to clean up the crease, just place it over the edge there so you can merge that shade into the outer corner. Then let's wipe away our safety net. Coat up the lashes with a little bit of mascara. I'm using once more the NYX Worthy Hype. Oh my gosh, hold on. Whoa. My bad. I forgot one step. Can't believe I did. I'm taking the shade Matter, which was that black shade we used, on my E30 brush, and I'm just taking a little bit right along on the lower lash line. Kind of like it's a liner you connect underneath on the lower lash line. That's how I imagine it. There we go. Super simple. Easy little step. Now back to the mascara. For lashes, I'm actually trying out a new pair from Violet Voss. All of the lashes at Target are on clearance. I was only able to find 3 pairs, which was this style in just Solayan, and 2 more of the Sexy and I Know It lashes. Those were all that they had at my store. If not, I would have grabbed so much more, especially the I Do Not Care. My favorite pair of lash from Violet Voss. If you find them, grab them. They're on clearance for $6.98, originally $10, so I grabbed as many as I could. And it's actually a pretty style. I haven't tested this style out before. I like it. Adds a little drama since this is a more bold look. And I'm going in. Woo, the drama. And then here is eye look number 2. Now that you guys have seen both looks in action, let's jump into my final thoughts about this palette. Let's start with the overall. This palette is retailed for $23 and there is 20 shades inside. There is a mix of 10 metallic shimmery shades and 10 mattes. It's also vegan and cruelty-free, which is really amazing that they were able to make these shades vegan and have the amount of pigmentation that they do, because these shades, oh my gosh, it is beautiful. The shimmeries are so buttery, soft. They apply to the lids so beautifully and look foiled. In both looks, I did not cut the crease. That is just the metallic shimmery shades on their own, and they are such standouts. Sorry, that was my phone getting an email. I apologize. Let me turn on silent. So rude of me. So the shimmery shades are absolutely gorgeous. The only thing is that with those, there is a little bit more fallout, which is surprising because the shimmery shades have more fallout than the matte shades. I was actually able to do both looks with a full face of foundation, powder, and everything on, and the matte shades, as long as you really tap off your brush, you will have no fallout or very minimal, like maybe 1 or 2, 3 little flakes down at the bottom, and you can just whisk that away. Nothing crazy where you're just gonna be pulling your hair out, which is really nice. You just have to make sure you really tap off the brush, because if you forget, you will have fallout. I did forget in one part and I was like, oh! That was when I was doing it off camera though. I try to really make sure I remembered when I was doing the other eye on camera for you guys, because I did learn my lesson there. So that's one thing to note. Other than that, the blendability, the pigmentation, I mean, it's all there in this palette. It's so worth the $23, I think. The color story, everything just kind of works. I like that there is some moments that you know just kind of goes together. Something that you can look at and just be like, okay, I could create that look today, but there's also some bold, beautiful moments where you can experiment. That's what I enjoy from a good, well-rounded palette, is something where you can have a set idea, but also the room to wiggle around and play with and not get bored with a palette, which is what is really nice with this one. It's also cool how Daisy decided to do her palette different than every single other palette, and the fact that you can pop this little mirror on top here, set it on your vanity and have it like that, or just hold the mirror like itself, which is what I did. I just picked it up like this, used it to apply my eyeshadows, and it was actually really nice because if you don't have a specific like handheld mirror, it can really come in handy just to have something that you can hold, because sometimes holding a giant palette can get really annoying. So that's a pretty cool, innovative thing that she decided to throw into this palette. I'm just very happy with this palette. I honestly even knocked some of my $50 palettes out the water. That's how I feel about this palette. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this review on the brand new Daisy Marquez collaboration palette with BH Cosmetics. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that little bell button. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!